Radiant, or RXD, has been on an incredible journey. Once a GPU miner's dream, it has now transitioned into a network dominated by ASICs, application-specific integrated circuits. This shift has stirred debate across the community. Was it a leap forward for security and scalability, or a step away from decentralization? Let's dive in and find out. In the early days, Radiant was a gift to GPU miners. With its SHA-512-256 hashing algorithm, hobbyists and small-scale miners with consumer-grade hardware like NVIDIA's RTX 30 series or AMD's RX 6000 cards could participate meaningfully. Mining RXD on GPUs delivered solid returns and helped distribute hash power across a wide base of everyday participants. For a time, RXD was one of the last profitable havens for GPU miners, but that landscape began to change in late 2024. The first wave of ASIC miners tailored specifically for RXD arrived, and everything shifted overnight. Machines like the Dragon Ball A11 Radiant pushing 3.2 terahashes per second at 2,300 watts, and the Ice River RX0 with an ultra-efficient 260 gigahashes per second at just 100 watts redefined the mining economy. The result? Radiant's network hash rate exploded, quickly crossing the petahash mark. GPU miners were effectively priced out. Cryptex, a major mining platform, put it bluntly in September 2024, mining Radiant using GPUs is no longer possible. ASIC required. So, what did this transition mean? On the upside, a lot. First, security. With such immense hash rate now backing the network, the risk of 51% attacks has dropped significantly. Radiant becomes much more secure and resilient against potential threats. Second, energy efficiency. ASICs outperform GPUs in hash per watt by a wide margin. This makes mining Radiant far more sustainable, especially in regions where electricity costs are critical to profitability. Third, predictability. Industrial-scale mining brings a more sustainable hash power baseline, which helps keep block times steady and supports Radiant's broader goals of powering smart contracts and DeFi applications. In many ways, this shift aligns Radiant with Bitcoin, its philosophical cousin. Both prioritize long-term security and resilience over short-term accessibility. But here's another side of the story: the downside. ASICs are expensive, often inaccessible to average users, and dominated by a handful of manufacturers and mining farms. That creates real risk of centralization. Mining power starts to concentrate in regions with cheap electricity and in the hands of large operators. The grassroots diversity that defined Radiant's early phase has been eroded. For small miners and hobbyists, the barrier to entry has skyrocketed. Many who helped bootstrap the network in its early days now find themselves locked out entirely. And unlike GPUs, ASICs have no flexibility. If RXD mining becomes unprofitable, you can't simply switch your ASIC over to another coin. It's single-purpose hardware. That makes the ecosystem more rigid and exposes miners to higher risk. So, is this evolution or exclusion? That depends on how you look at it. From a purely technical and economic perspective, the move to ASICs was the right direction. It dramatically increased Radiant's resilience, strengthened security, and signals to serious miners that RXD is a network worth committing real capital to. This kind of stability is essential if Radiant wants to serve as a scalable UTXO-based smart contract platform, but there's no denying that the transition fractured the community. The GPU miners who once carried Radiant's grassroots momentum have been sidelined. For them, the shift feels less like natural evolution and more like being left behind. That's why what Radiant does next is critical. If it wants to balance its new industrial-grade security with its original grassroots ethos, it must address this fracture. Recognizing and rewarding early GPU miners through community grants, ecosystem roles, or targeted airdrops could go a long way towards repairing trust. Transparency, inclusivity, and intentional governance will be key, because in the end, Radiant is no longer just a playground for miners. It's maturing into a serious blockchain with serious ambitions. If it's going to compete at scale, the infrastructure has to match that ambition. But if it wants to thrive long-term, it also has to stay true to its decentralized roots. So, here's our conclusion. The shift to ASIC mining marks a new era for Radiant, a move toward industrial-grade infrastructure and away from grassroots accessibility. Whether that proves to be a leap forward or a step away from its ethos depends on what happens from here. As it stands, the ASIC transition was a necessary evolution. It has made Radiant more secure and more competitive, but its long-term success will depend on whether it can balance that technical strength with fairness, transparency, and community inclusivity. If Radiant can do that, it won't just survive this transition, it will shine brighter than ever. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit the like, subscribe, and share it with someone who's following Radiant's journey. And if you want to explore the ecosystem further, head to radiantblockchain.org and see for yourself how RxD is evolving.